People often ask me what it means to think lean. So question number one is, seriously, what's the real value as perceived by the customer, not just by my organization, which is set up to provide a certain thing, but may or may not be what the customer wants? We've seen very dramatic evidence in the last 10 years in the military equipment world that the customer's notion of value has changed very dramatically, and the industry has had a very hard time responding to that new perception of value. So lean thought number one is value. Thought number two is to identify the value stream, which is that set of activities which go from concept to launch, from order to delivery, and from raw material into the hands of the customer. Those are the three cycles: concept to launch, which is a problem-solving loop; order to delivery, that's an information management loop; and raw material to customer, that's a physical transformation loop. Those are the three loops that you have to be able to deal with. And the question there for a lean thinker is, what's the value stream? Can I identify it, all of the steps required to go from start to finish? It is amazing to me how few senior managers ever think about their value stream. So you have to ask yourself, what are the steps in the value stream? And here's the key question: how many of those really add value? Anytime you do an analysis where you write down the steps and you say, does this add value from the standpoint of the end customer, you're always going to find that about 90% of them don't. And you're doing them because that's the only way you can run your organization. So the lean thinker then works backwards and says, well, wait a minute, let's eliminate all the steps that don't add value, keep just the steps that do add value, and then you're living in a totally different world. In fact, once you've made that leap to focus on the value stream, you can make a second, which is, how do we get the design, the order, and the physical object to flow continuously? It turns out that if you create a condition of continuous flow from start to finish, you always have, of course, the lowest cycle time, but more important, you have the highest quality and the lowest cost. It's a bit of a miracle. By focusing on flow, on the value stream, and pushing relentlessly to take time and wasted steps out, you end up with lowest cost, highest quality, and most value for the end customer. Now, once you've started down this path, you've got value right from the standpoint of the end customer. You've got the value stream as your key focal plane. You're causing the design, the order, and the object to flow. You're then in a position where you can say to the customer, why don't you pull? Ask for it just when you want it, rather than having to order years in advance, and on speculation that you might or might not need it, so that you then change your mind after the production process has already started, which is a classic feature in aerospace, that the whole wave of product is coming toward you just at the point when you decide your mission requirement is quite different. Trying to create a situation in which the customer can basically control the timing, because your response time, your lead time, has been so dramatically compressed that you can do what they want when they need it. Then finally, if you've done all those good things, you can start actually thinking about perfection. It's amazing to me when I go into companies how little of management time is devoted to actually improving the process, as opposed to fighting fires and dealing with variance. And the reason, of course, is that there isn't a process. There is no tightly defined process for day-to-day operations. So therefore, if you get to the end, you've got value right, you're focused on the right thing, the value stream, you've got flow conditions in place, the customer's starting to pull, a wonderful thing happens. Management actually has time to think about perfection, about the endless improvement of the business, till you finally reach a state, not that any of us will ever get there, of perfection where every single action taken every day in your business creates true value for the end customer. Now, we're never any of us going to get there, but that clearly is where we should be heading.